Good evening and thank you for joining us. What started as an exciting day in Aggieland today with Alabama in town ended with some disappointment as A&M fell to the Crimson Tide 26-20. Regardless, there was no shortage of support from fans. Thousands of people packed campus today, even hours before kickoff. Fans showed off their best maroon and crimson around Aggieland today as tailgates and parties kicked off early this morning. We spoke with some Aggies today who said this was the game of the season.
This game has been talked about for a long time. I feel like it's all kind of been leading up to this. But I mean, Aggies always show up and show out, so we're excited.
We just want to have a good time, share the spirit, especially when away fans come around. Like, wow, we really welcome them in with open arms. Like, it's just great experience, and we want to share the Aggie spirit with everybody else too. It's just a magical place to be.
Of course, we'll have more on A&M's game against Alabama later on in the show with sports. The game even brought Senator Ted Cruz to Aggieland. He spoke about legislation he filed that would protect college athletics' rights to name, image, and likeness. It also allows the NCAA to set rules governing recruiting and pay to play to keep it fair between all schools.
One of the objectives we want to have here is not just ensure competitiveness across sports, but we want to focus beyond the Power Five and football and basketball. We want to protect smaller schools. We want to protect non-revenue sports because thousands and thousands of young men and young women are getting an opportunity to get a great education, which they wouldn't have without an athletic scholarship.
Senator Cruz said his legislation also makes it clear that student athletes are not employees. He hopes he can get the bipartisan support he needs to pass it. Governor Greg Abbott is calling on lawmakers to try again to pass school vouchers. Vouchers would allow families to use state funds to pay for their children's private schooling. Monique Lopez was at the Capitol today where people who are against the vouchers gathered.
That's a real slap in the face. The fact that we would be talking about a voucher scheme without anything on the agenda to talk about funding our schools, giving our teachers the pay raises, it is absolutely egregious.
Many, like Democratic State Representative Donna Howard, came out to the Capitol Saturday to let their stance on school vouchers be heard loud and clear.
Our Texas Constitution says that we are to provide free public education to all Texas students and children. That I can't see any way that can be interpreted to mean tax dollars going to private schools.
Those against education savings accounts or school vouchers say they would help parents put their children in private schools instead of public schools, taking money away from public schools that are already in need of more funding and more teachers.
What it does is it defunds the public school system and it degrades the ability for educators to budget for the students and for the personnel.
Others see school vouchers in the state as a positive thing, allowing families to make their own choices when it comes to where their child receives their education.
They know their kids the best, they know what works for them, what doesn't, and so they have decided to make sure their kids get the best education, whether it's public or private, and I think every parent in Texas should be able to have that choice.
This will be the second attempt this year for lawmakers to decide whether they should pass a statewide voucher program.
Having a little break and then having a special session almost entirely dedicated to this will really help to hammer out the details and get everybody on the same page because we need to do it.
That special session will kick off on Monday. Berkeley, thank you. The attack against Israel by Hamas has led to plenty of reaction here in the U.S. President Biden spoke about the attack earlier today while leading GOP candidates addressed what happened while out on the campaign trail. CBS's Christian Benavides reports.
Reaction from across the political spectrum following that deadly surprise attack overnight by Hamas against Israel. President Joe Biden, who met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just last month, said the two spoke this morning and reiterated U.S. commitment to Israel's security.
Israel has the right to defend itself and its people. Full stop.
Out on the campaign trail, former President Donald Trump, the leading GOP candidate, also addressed the attack.
The Israeli attack was made because we are perceived as being weak and ineffective and with a really weak leader.
Republicans have been critical of the Biden administration over a prisoner swap deal with Iran earlier this year, which lifted a freeze on $6 billion of Iranian funds. Iran's supreme leader congratulated Hamas fighters for launching this morning's attack.
Of course, Iran funds Hamas. The Biden administration's made that a lot easier.
Biden administration officials have said the suggestion that the U.S. provided funds to Iran is not true, that the funds available to Iran haven't been spent yet, and when that happens, they can only be used for food and medicine. Christian Benavides, CBS News.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also condemned the attacks, saying on social media that the U.S. stands in solidarity with the government and people of Israel. We'll get a quick look at your forecast after the break, but here's a quick look from our Live Eye Network. Kaylee, thank you. A Girl Scout troop in Calvert made a difference for the furry friends in their community. News 3's Anna Maynard has the story.
Justine Van Meter helps run an animal holding facility in Calvert.
I think of them as people. And I just want them to, have a good life.
Van Meter's daughter is a Girl Scout. When her troop needed to find a service project, Van Meter took them to the holding facility.
There was no shelter. There was nothing to protect them from the rain or anything. And they wanted the city to do something about it.
The Girl Scouts showed up at multiple city council meetings voicing concerns for the conditions they saw and ultimately convincing the city to take action.
Our main goal is to get this facility to where we can keep the animals during the winter comfortable and during the summer comfortable.
The city stepped up to help create this current facility, but Van Meter says there's still a lot of work to be done.
It is just a metal building on a concrete slab. So currently we need electricity to the building. We have no electricity, so it does get very cold.
Van Meter says she's proud of what the Girl Scouts accomplished and hopes to see the facility continue to grow.
It makes me feel really good to know that they were able to do this and actually see something come into fruition.
In Calvert, Anna Maynard, News 3.
Later tonight, we'll have more on what's next for the facility as they prepare for winter. Last night was New Year's Eve, and some of you may have noticed fireworks being set off in city limits from the hours of 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. Bryan police said they received around 100 calls for setting off fireworks illegally. 2023 has come to an end, and according to Texas A&M's Private Enterprise Research Center, looks like it was a good year for the local economy. News 3's Tyler Hoskins shares some of what those numbers look like and what they mean.
Morgan, this past year saw low unemployment for the Bryan-College Station MSA, which encompasses 3 counties in the Brazos Valley. According to the Texas A&M Private Enterprise Research Center, the year ended with the unemployment rate at 3%. That's the same number as in 2022. The Bryan-College Station MSA has the 3rd lowest unemployment rate in the state of Texas, behind Midland and Amarillo. As for employment, it saw a 2.5% jump in 2023 from 22, and the leisure and hospitality industry, one of the hardest hit by the pandemic, saw a 6% increase in employment. PERC's executive director says these are all good signs for the economy.
Times are fairly good, not really overheated at all, but certainly we're nowhere near the fears people had about a recession a while back. If you look nationally, we're doing a little better than nationally.
Tonight at 10, we hear from a few local businesses about what they experienced in 2023. In studio, Tyler Hoskins, News 3.
Those in need had an opportunity to get a warm New Year's Day meal courtesy of Gloria Kennard. It was held at Pleasant Grove Baptist Church in Bryan. This is the 5th year that Kennard has held the meal, where she says there was a very big turnout, estimating over 480 people came out. Attendees were able to get fried chicken, black-eyed peas, green beans, cake, and more.
There are quite a few people here in need in Bryan-Brazos County, so myself and my friends, we all get out and we get together and get it together and give people some food and love and share and dance and be friendly with one another and do what you can do.
Kennard says she's looking forward to holding the meal again next year. The St. Joseph Hospital in College Station announced its first baby of the year was a boy. The baby, named Benjamin Park, was born at 1:12 this morning and got all dressed up for this January holiday. This is the group's first baby of the new year, and congratulations to the new parents. The American Red Cross will kick off the new year with a blood drive at its Bryan office on Boonville Road. This will take place tomorrow from noon until 6 p.m. January is National Blood Donor Month in the United States. Due to holiday celebrations, cold weather, and illness, there are often fewer donations. The executive director of the local Red Cross says it's important that donations never stop.
There's people going through cancer treatments, people with life-threatening illnesses that depend on these generous donations. And when you donate blood, you're actually helping save a life.
At this moment, they need all blood types. We have a link where you can sign up to donate with this story on our website. Former Representative Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas has died at the age of 88. The Democrat was born in Waco in 1935. Johnson was a nurse before becoming a Texas state lawmaker in 1972. She was then elected to the U.S. House in 1992, representing the Dallas area district for 30 years. In a statement, President Biden called Johnson an icon and mentor to generations of public servants. Vice President Kamala Harris said it was a privilege to work with her in the Congressional Black Caucus. The new year ushered in hundreds of new laws now in effect across the country. Nearly half of the states raised their minimum wage, and several other states enacted new gun restrictions. Christian Benavides breaks it down.
New laws in the new year served up pay raises for about 10 million Americans, many working in food services and childcare. 22 states passed laws raising the minimum wage.
That will help me with my son. He's about to graduate from high school. He wants to go to college now.
In California, it's now illegal to carry a gun in most public places, even with a concealed carry permit. It's one of several states with new gun regulations.
Nothing about a red flag law interferes with your right to the Second Amendment.
While Minnesota passed a new red flag law allowing guns to be taken from people deemed an imminent threat, and Illinois banned semi-automatic rifles and high-capacity magazines.
Protect trans kids!
Other laws focus on hot-button issues like gender-affirming care.
Children are not mature enough to drive, they're not mature enough to buy alcohol or cigarettes or to get a tattoo. Why in the world would we allow them to remove perfectly healthy reproductive organs?
Idaho, Louisiana, and West Virginia have blocked minors from access to puberty blockers and hormone therapy. Here in Florida, it's already a law for drivers to move over a lane for stopped emergency vehicles. But now the move over law will apply when any vehicle is on the side of the road with its hazards on. And a warning for porch pirates. Anyone caught stealing packages left outside in Pennsylvania could now face felony charges. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.
California's new gun law has already been challenged. Last month, a U.S. district judge blocked the law from taking effect, but over the weekend, a federal appeals court put the judge's ruling on hold. After the break, a Powerball is having another drawing tonight. After nobody won this past Saturday, the drawing is now worth $810 million. It's that time of year when we set out to make a better version of ourselves, but research shows many people give up on resolutions within weeks and sometimes even days into a new year. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has tips on how to make your 2024 resolutions stick.
From exercising more to eating better. If you're looking to make a change in the new year, you're not alone, but bad habits can be hard to shift.
Change is not like a light switch. It is a process.
Clinical psychologist Susan Alberts with Cleveland Clinic says the first way to help make resolutions stick is to be specific about our goals.
Our brains love to know the direction that we are going. So instead of saying, I want to exercise more, make a specific goal, such as 20 minutes of walking a day. This is going to make you much more successful in completing this goal.
Albert says to also be realistic. Setting goals that aren't sustainable can make resolutions fall flat.
This is because we tend to set behaviors that are too different from where we are at this very moment. Anticipating obstacles. This is a helpful strategy for continuing resolutions.
Albert says stopping a behavior is harder than starting one. So instead of trying not to eat any more junk food, she says to try setting a goal to eat more fruits and veggies. And finally, link a new behavior to an existing one.
For example, if you drink coffee every morning, but you want to start exercising, link the exercise to drinking the coffee. Have it be the very next behavior that you do.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Albers says it's always good to set resolutions with others. She says creating a goal list with your family can help keep everyone accountable and engaged and help everyone stay on the same page throughout the year. After no winner on Saturday, the new Powerball drawing will be happening tonight. According to the Powerball website, the prize has grown to over an estimated $810 million. The drawing will take place at approximately 10 p.m.
Well, we are looking to start off the new year with a healthy drink of water. We'll time out your Tuesday rain chance coming up in your Pinpoint forecast next.
Fans will kind of be glued into that one.
Yeah.
A lot of converted Husky fans, I suspect, out there today.
Looking at one of them right here. Well, it'll be an interesting game for sure. Excited to see that at 10. But we've also got rain chances to talk about at 10 as well. It's not going to be one where you necessarily need the rain gear tomorrow unless you're going to be out from about 5 to about 10 o'clock. Then that rain chance really ramps up widespread through the early morning hours of Wednesday. And if that's not enough rain chances for you, we got another one Friday. And hey, we've got another one. We'll just keep it rolling as we head into early next week. And temperature-wise, we're hanging around the 50s. So if you got any, cool hoodies and layers that you got for Christmas or the holidays, you got time to wear them for sure. And then just ignore that 70 degrees on Monday.
Yeah, what is that?
That's fine. That's Texas.
I'm excited for that one.
I knew you would be.
So we'll be sure to join us for News 3 at 10 or anytime on our web channel, kbtx.com. Shell, thank you. ERCOT is issuing a weather watch ahead of next week's cold temperatures. This is a live look at ERCOT's supply and demand dashboard. The weather watch is from January 15th through 17th. That's next Monday through Wednesday. ERCOT says grid conditions are expected to be normal during that time, but will monitor those conditions closely. The Montgomery Police Department is asking for help identifying these men. They say at least 6 men cashed several fraudulent checks totaling more than $16,000 at the First Financial Bank. They shared these photos in hopes that someone recognizes them. If you know who they are or know where they could be, contact Montgomery Police or Crime Stoppers. An update on a big story out of San Antonio we've been following. Another arrest has been made in the connection of the murder of a teen and her boyfriend. The third suspect, a 47-year-old Mirta Romanos. Investigators believe she is the stepmother of the young man who was arrested along with his father. Romanos is charged with concealing a corpse, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with evidence. Investigators say they saw her in surveillance footage with the other suspects the night of the killings. Romanos also allegedly told detectives the weapon used in the crime belonged to her. Authorities say Savannah Nicole Soto and Matthew Guerra were fatally shot in the head before their bodies were moved and discovered days later in a car. San Antonio police have said the deaths appear to be the result of a drug deal. Investigators believe this all happened on December 21st, just days before Soto was supposed to give birth. Some big news tonight in the world of college football. There are reports tonight that Alabama head football coach Nick Saban is retiring. Saban won 6 national titles with the Crimson Tide and one at LSU, the most of any coach in football history. Daryl will have more coming up in sports. The United States Air Force has chosen Texas A&M to lead a new project. The initiative will advance technologies for in-space operations. Most of the testing will be done here in Bryan at the Texas A&M Rellis campus. Chancellor John Sharp said, quote, "No university is better equipped for aeronautics and space projects than Texas A&M." You can find more information with this story on our website, kbtx.com. Turning to some big news for the 2024 election, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is expected to announce that he's suspending his campaign for the Republican presidential nomination. He's set to share the news any minute now at a campaign event in New Hampshire. During his remarks, Christie will outline his rationale for the GOP moving forward, but has no immediate plans to endorse another candidate, according to a Republican source. In Washington, House Republicans held the first impeachment hearing for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. They accuse him of opening the border and making the country less safe. Skylar Henry has more details from Capitol Hill.
House Republicans left little doubt about what they plan to do with Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
We're going to impeach him. He's going to be impeached, and he should be.
Democrats say Republicans are using the impeachment hearing to attack the Biden administration's border policies, which Mayorkas is in charge of.
You cannot impeach a cabinet secretary because you don't like a president's policies. That's not what impeachment's for.
Republicans say Mayorkas has neglected his duties.
Secretary Mayorkas has brazenly refused to enforce the laws passed by Congress and enacted policies that knowingly make our country less safe.
In the history of the country, only one secretary has ever been impeached, and a constitutional expert testified that the high crimes and misdemeanors bar needed to impeach Secretary Mayorkas has not been met.
Following the policy directives of one's elected superior in pursuit of that superior's policy aims is simply not an impeachable abuse of power.
Even if the House does impeach Mayorkas, Democrats in the Senate are unlikely to convict him.
Impeaching Secretary Mayorkas solves nothing at the border. In fact, it detracts from a bipartisan effort to reach solutions to the security problem at the border.
Mayorkas is leading Biden administration negotiations with Senate Republicans to find a way to strengthen the border in exchange for support for the wars in Ukraine and Israel. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Senators say there are still significant differences on the border bill, and negotiations will continue beyond this week. A tense back and forth on Capitol Hill today after Hunter Biden made a surprise appearance at the hearing of a House Oversight Committee, with GOP lawmakers blasting his appearance as theater.
You are the epitome of white privilege, coming into the Oversight Committee, spitting in our face, ignoring a congressional subpoena to be deposed. What are you afraid of?
The committee was weighing whether or not to hold the president's son in contempt of Congress. The Oversight Committee is one of two committees moving forward with contempt charges against Hunter Biden for refusing to comply with a congressional subpoena to testify behind closed doors. The committees want Hunter Biden's testimony as part of an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. The months-long investigation has not found direct evidence of wrongdoing by the president, but Republicans continue to press their case. The president's son is already under a special counsel investigation. He's set to appear in federal court in California tomorrow to face tax charges. He also faces charges related to his purchase of a handgun in 2018. Coming up, practical steps to reach your financial goals for the new year. A recent survey reports improving finances is the second most popular New Year's resolution. Of course, that starts with setting the foundation with a budget. News 3's Kayla Britt spoke with a financial education expert about helpful resources. Coming up, dueling police officers trying to solve a cold case. More about this new Apple Plus series after the break. We have some breaking news just into the newsroom. Firefighters are actively battling a fire at a church in Caldwell. This is the New Tabor Brethren Church. This is a live look at that scene right now. You can see the church is still on fire at this time. As we learn more, we'll keep you updated right here on KBTX. Tourists in Paris have a new way to remember the late David Bowie and another accolade for Harrison Ford. Danya Backus has those stories and more in your Eye on Entertainment. Up next in sports, multiple reports are saying that after 50 seasons as football coach, Nick Saban is stepping down at Alabama. He won 7 national football championships and was involved in some memorable games against Texas A&M.
Go cold front that heads our way late in the weekends.
Awesome, Shell. Thank you. That's our time for Live at 5. We'll see you back here in half an hour. The CBS Evening News starts now.